Once upon a time, Disney's Snow White was a beloved tale of innocence and magic. But in 2025, its live-action remake became a cautionary tale of controversy and missteps.
I know you're worried about your dad, but I've seen him out in the field firsthand. He knows how to survive.
From casting choices that sparked debates to reimagined characters that ignited backlash, this film's journey was anything but enchanting. Dive into the story of how a classic fairy tale transformed into one of Disney's most talked about flops. Number 1, Snow White.
Queensguard, find this place.
I'm coming with you.
No, it's too dangerous. You're the one they're looking for. I'll be back in 2 days. And together, we'll go to the Southern Kingdom and we'll find your father.
This wasn't just a bad movie, it was a disaster long before it ever hit the big screen. Disney's attempt to reimagine its first ever animated classic Snow White was supposed to be a magical tribute to the legacy that built the entire company. Instead, it turned into one of the most publicly mocked projects in Disney history.
Oh, I really don't remember you being this opinionated.
Before a single ticket was sold, the film was already drowning in controversy. First, there was the casting backlash. Then came the internet outrage over the dwarf debacle.
Just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
With Disney swapping out the 7 dwarves for a diverse mix of magical creatures, a move that angered both fans and disability advocates alike. Fans didn't take kindly to that. Social media exploded with boycotts, memes, and outrage. What was once a beloved fairy tale became a battleground for culture wars and online feuds. And while Disney tried to salvage the ship, the damage had already been done. When Snow White finally hit theatres, the numbers spoke louder than the trolls. It flopped. Not only did it fail to meet even modest box office projections, it didn't come close to recouping its reported $250 million budget, let alone the estimated $500 million it needed to break even after marketing. What should have been a celebration of Disney's 100-year legacy ended up as a cautionary tale of what happens when a studio forgets the magic that made it special in the first place. Number 2. The Black Cauldron. This is the Disney movie.
Here is my sword. Take it. Is it your own choice, duckling? Remember, with this sword, you could be the greatest of warriors.
Disney wants you to forget. Released in 1985, The Black Cauldron was supposed to launch Disney into a bold, darker era of animation. Inspired by the Chronicles of Prydain, a beloved fantasy book series, it had everything: an epic quest, a terrifying undead army, and even a villain who looked like he stepped out of a nightmare. But there was one big problem. No one wanted to see it. Disney poured $44 million into making The Black Cauldron, which, at the time, made it the most expensive animated movie ever made. But the tone was so dark, the imagery so haunting, that executives panicked.
The Black Cauldron, where is it? Show us, swine. I warn you.
They forced last-minute cuts. Over 12 minutes of finished footage, including entire violent scenes, were chopped just before release. The result? A jumbled, confusing mess. Kids were terrified, parents were horrified, and critics, they were brutal. The movie made only $21 million at the box office, barely half of what it cost to make. That flop nearly bankrupted Disney's animation department.
You better be telling the truth.
Cookie not lie. Not this time.
And almost killed its feature animation division altogether. But here's the twist. Over the years, The Black Cauldron found a strange kind of cult following. Some fans admire its ambition. Some see it as a misstep worth remembering. But for Disney?
Power cannot die! Curse you!
It's still that one movie they buried so deep you won't even find it on Disney+, not without a little digging. It was bold, it was risky. But ultimately, The Black Cauldron became a haunting reminder that not every fairy tale ends with happily ever after. Number 3, Strange World. It had everything going for it: a legendary studio, a massive budget, and a powerful message about saving the planet.
Whoa. What are you?
But somehow, Strange World ended up being one of Disney's biggest box office disasters ever.
Searcher! We're explorers, not gardeners. You're my son.
But I'm not you!
Released in 2022, Strange World told the story of the Clade family, explorers navigating a mysterious underground land filled with bizarre creatures and living landscapes. Visually, it was stunning.
I know you're worried about your dad, but I've seen him out in the field firsthand. He knows how to survive.
The animation was breathtaking, but something strange happened. Nobody showed up. With a jaw-dropping $180 million production budget, Strange World barely made $74 million at the global box office. Once you include marketing, Disney was staring at a potential loss of over $100 million. Critics were mixed. Some praised its themes and visuals. Others said it lacked emotional depth. But what really stung? Audiences just didn't connect. Some blamed poor marketing. Some blamed the release timing. Others pointed to Disney's attempt to push boundaries with environmental messaging and LGBT+ representation. Whatever the reason, Strange World became exactly what its name suggests: strange, misunderstood, and quickly forgotten. And in the end, it quietly slipped into Disney+, without fanfare, without buzz. A cautionary tale about what happens when bold ideas don't quite land with the audience you hoped for. It aimed to change the world. Instead, it vanished from it. Number 4, Mars Needs Moms.
Milo? Is that broccoli?
No, that's vomit, but I understand the confusion.
I told you to eat that.
You're not gonna make me eat it now, are you?
It was supposed to be a heartwarming tale about a boy learning to appreciate his mom. Instead, it became one of the biggest flops in animation history. Released in 2011, Mars Needs Moms had a powerful core message.
Mothering was so hard.
Never take your parents for granted. The story follows a 9-year-old boy named Milo, whose mom is abducted by Martians, prompting a wild interplanetary rescue mission. Sounds promising, right? But the moment audiences laid eyes on it, something felt off. The film used motion capture animation.
Destiny arrives all the same. Or should I say, I am.
Aiming for realism, but it landed squarely in the uncanny valley. Characters looked too real, yet not real enough. Instead of charming, they came off as creepy. With a staggering $150 million budget, Mars Needs Moms only made $39 million worldwide. That's over $100 million lost, a catastrophic failure for Disney. And critics weren't kind either. Words like soulless, awkward, and emotionally flat filled the reviews. Even with its heartfelt message, the film just couldn't connect. Kids were bored, parents were weirded out.
I'm gonna hang out with Key and help paint and stuff.
He's really good at red.
Why are you looking at me like that?
And audiences everywhere asked, what were they thinking? In the end, Mars Needs Moms didn't just fail, it nearly killed off Disney's entire motion capture animation division. A film about appreciating mums, ironically, became one of the most rejected films Disney has ever made. Number 5, Lightyear, a movie based on Buzz Lightyear, one of Pixar's most iconic characters.
You tried to terminate me. Revenge is not an idea we promote on my planet.
I'm thankful.
What could possibly go wrong? Released in 2022, Lightyear was marketed as the movie that inspired the toy we all knew and loved in Toy Story. But when audiences sat down to watch, confusion hit fast. This wasn't the wisecracking buzz from Toy Story. This was a serious, emotional, realistic version, voiced not by Tim Allen, but Chris Evans. For many, it felt like a different character entirely.
Where is the rookie?
Despite its stunning visuals and ambitious storytelling, Lightyear missed its target audience. Kids found it too complicated. Adults found it too disconnected from the nostalgia they expected. And then came the controversy. A same-sex kiss in the film sparked political uproar in certain regions, leading to bans in over 14 countries, including major markets like Saudi Arabia and the UAE. That's millions in potential revenue lost before it even opened. With a production budget of over $200 million, Lightyear only earned around $226 million worldwide, barely breaking even after marketing. For Pixar, this wasn't just a box office disappointment. It was a wake-up call. A movie meant to honour a beloved character ended up dividing fans, critics, and countries. Lightyear soared into theatres with high hopes, but it crash-landed just beyond the launch pad. Number 6. The BFG.
Those giants, they would swallow you up like a piece of frumpkin fry.
It's pumpkin pie, not pumpkin fry. And giraffes are giraffes.
When Steven Spielberg teams up with Disney to adapt a beloved Roald Dahl classic, expectations skyrocket. Released in 2016, the BFG, short for Big Friendly Giant, was meant to be a whimsical, heartwarming tale about friendship and wonder. But despite its visual magic and touching story, something didn't click. The pacing was slow, the tone too soft, and the fantasy too gentle for today's fast-moving audiences. For younger viewers used to action-packed adventures, the BFG felt sleepy, and that hurt its box office performance badly. With a massive budget of $140 million and Disney's usual marketing machine behind it, the BFG was expected to dominate. Instead, it quietly tiptoed past summer blockbusters and went largely unnoticed.
You don't come in here anymore! Go, get out! Curse you, B-roll!
Critics praised it. Spielberg fans admired it. But the general audience, they skipped it. The BFG was a gentle giant in a world that demanded spectacle and speed. A beautiful story, yes, but in the box office jungle, it just couldn't keep up. Number 7. The Marvels.
Hey, Captain Marvel for?
I don't know. Does anyone want me to do it again?
The Marvel Cinematic Universe, or MCU, had its fair share of ups and downs.
Your mom would be proud. Higher, further, faster. Higher, further, faster.
But Phase 5? That's when things really started to get complicated. Enter the Marvels, the highly anticipated sequel to Captain Marvel. Fans were ready for more cosmic action, more superhero shenanigans, and of course, Brie Larson returning as Carol Danvers. But the reception? Not exactly Avengers, Endgame levels of enthusiasm. Critics and audiences alike gave it a lackluster reception, with some calling it a missed opportunity. But what really set it apart? That disastrous opening weekend? The numbers were shocking. With a global total of just $26 million, the Marvels debuted with the lowest opening in MCU history. Disney, always expecting blockbuster results, suddenly found themselves facing a super crash. And that wasn't even the worst part. 80% drop in its second week. That's not just bad, that's unheard of. What went wrong? Was it the muddled storyline, the pacing, or simply a shift in audience interest away from the old-school superhero formula? Whatever the cause, the Marvels wasn't just a disappointment, It was a game changer for the MCU, and with a $240 million loss, Disney certainly won't be hurrying to repeat that mistake. Number 8. The Jungle Book 2.
Thought you liked Mowgli.
Well, I do. I like Mowgli. But
It's hard to forget the magic of Disney's 1967 classic The Jungle Book. With its vibrant animation, memorable songs, and timeless characters, it captured hearts around the world.
What are you doing on my territory?
We came in peace, Carla. We just wanted some peaches.
Everything here is mine.
But in 2003, Disney decided to return to the jungle, and things went a bit sideways. Enter The Jungle Book 2, a sequel that was, well, let's just say it wasn't quite up to the original's level. The movie was thrown together with great voice talent, Haley Joel Osment, John Goodman, and Mae Whitman. Unfortunately, none of that could save it from being an instant critical disaster. The movie was direct-to-video, but Disney, thinking it had potential, gave it a theatrical release instead. The result? Critics ripped it apart, calling it uninspired and unnecessary. At the end of the day, The Jungle Book 2 couldn't escape the harsh reality. It's currently the lowest-rated Disney movie on Rotten Tomatoes, with a pitiful 19% approval. Sure, it made some money, $135 million globally. But considering it was made for just $20 million, that's hardly impressive when you take into account the critical failure. In the end, The Jungle Book 2 is a classic example of why some stories are better left untold. Number 9. Haunted Mansion.
Your mind blown?
Goodbye.
2 words. Spectral photography.
When you hear the words Haunted Mansion, your mind probably jumps to the iconic Disneyland attraction, right? The spooky thrills, the creepy atmosphere, and that unforgettable ghostly ride. So, what happens when you try to capture that magic in a movie? Let's just say Disney failed miserably. The journey started in 2010 when Guillermo del Toro was attached to direct, but development hell ensued. Years passed, and the project seemed to be stuck in limbo. Finally, Disney pulled the trigger in 2023, and the movie was unleashed. But there was a catch. They released it in the summer, instead of the Halloween season. Huge mistake. And then there was the lack of promotion, thanks to the actor strike. To make matters worse, the movie had to compete with the colossal phenomenon of Barbenheimer. And, well, we all know how that turned out. Despite its $150 million budget, Haunted Mansion grossed a mere $117 million worldwide. A big loss for Disney, especially when you factor in marketing costs. The result? A movie that couldn't even haunt its own audience. Number 10. Treasure Planet.
Nights when the winds of the Ethereum, so inviting in their promise of flight and freedom, made one's spirit soar.
Treasure Planet had all the ingredients to be a blockbuster. An ambitious sci-fi retelling of Treasure Island, a unique blend of 2D and 3D animation, and a budget that broke records. $140 million to be exact. It was Disney's most expensive animated movie of its time. So what went wrong? The movie's release in 2002 was during a time when Disney's 2D animation was rapidly losing its charm to the growing popularity of 3D animation. Treasure Planet just couldn't compete with the shiny new CGI animated films dominating the box office. It was niche, its genre was unclear, and, most importantly, it was competing with other big hits at the same time. Despite having stellar voice actors like Joseph Gordon-Levitt, the movie opened to disappointing box office numbers. It debuted fourth at the box office, grossing only $12 million in its opening weekend. In the end, it barely scraped up $109 million, and that was nowhere near enough to make back its massive budget. Treasure Planet became one of Disney's biggest animated flops, leaving Disney to wonder whether their days of making hand-drawn animated movies were behind them. But hey, at least it's found a cult following over the years, even if it never made back what it spent.